Now, other than flying to London, how did you prepare for this part? Did you research the whole situation?
You know, the once you've really read this play, you know just about everything you need to know about what's going on. There's in the published version in the UK, there's a terrific afterword by Michael Frayn where he discusses why he wrote the play, what the play meant to him, and gives a lot of historical background, which was very, very useful for me. Looked at a lot of pictures. We've looked at a couple of documentaries. Because the play has been done before and brilliantly directed already, and the production is being set on us, we are benefiting from a great deal of the research and a great deal of the learning that the director and the previous company had to work to get. So we're sort of inheriting all of this terrific information. It's been very useful for us. How did you first become attracted to this part in this show? Well, it was sent to me, actually, and I read it, and I was completely fascinated by the play. The first time I read through it, I didn't understand it. Then the second time I read through it, I got very excited, and it reveals itself beautifully. This shouldn't be daunting to an audience, because you don't see it on the page. You're going to see it alive on the stage. So the audience gets it the first time around. You will be, well, that's what we're going to do. That's our job. And I was fascinated by it, and I had been sent the script, actually, just because Michael Blakemore wanted to meet with me, and I read it, and I was immediately attracted by this particular role. I just felt, I loved it. I thought it was a wonderful part, great challenge. And the timing of this is rather fortuitous in that you just made the decision that after 30 years in Los Angeles, you would move back to New York. Yep. To do more on stage. I mean, the timing was pretty good to come back to New York and land a Broadway show immediately. I'll tell you, on the 10th of May, my wife, I was here doing Stendhal Syndrome, Terrence McNallys play, and we were having lunch. And we got a call from New York. They accepted they agreed to our price on the house we were selling in L.A. They accepted our offer on the apartment in New York. My little boy got accepted into his school after the interview, and I got the call asking me to be in this play. All on the same day? All in one afternoon. Oh, my goodness. So my wife and I said to ourselves, we should just get out of the way and let all this happen. It was just meant to be. Yeah, I guess so. One hopes so. Either that or it's been a huge mistake. but let's go back, because as John mentioned in introducing you, you got your equity card at age 7. Yeah. And your parents were dancers. They were not actors. They were, that's right. My mom and dad, Richard Thomas and Barbara Fallis, were ballet dancers. They danced for many years with many, many different companies, Ballet Russe, and with Alicia Alonso in Havana, with Ballet Theater. And then they danced, when I was a boy, they were dancing with Balanchine's company here in New York and on tour. So I was raised backstage, really at City Center, and on tour. That was my childhood. But my dad went away to do some stuff in summer stock one summer. He was dancing and doing some stuff, and I went with him for summer. And just there was an opportunity for me to get on stage and sing "You Gotta Have Heart" in a production of Damn Yankees. And I did it, and that was it. And then you came back to New York and started auditioning? They couldn't get me off stage. How old were you when you did that? 6. My late 60s. A child prodigy. Late 60s. But my first grade teacher happened to be a children's agent. So teacher during the day, agent at night. Agent by night. and she called my folks and said, "Listen, the young boy who had opened the show was leaving to do a show called JB, and they were replacing the young actor playing John Roosevelt. And they said they're looking for someone. We know your son is interested. I know that he did something this summer. Would he like to come in and read?" And I did, and got the part. So it was fantastic. And then just continued to audition, because you worked a lot as a child. I worked constantly. As a young man. I was here in New York. I worked on Broadway and off Broadway. I did a lot of television, which was then, of course, live. And it was a fantastic place for a child actor to grow up. Then I started working in Los Angeles years later, when I went to do my first movie, like in 1968 and stuff. But this is really where I learned and sort of did my apprenticeship as an actor.
So, both moving back to New York City, back to your home, and returning to Broadway, you really are returning home.
Oh, I am coming home. This is home.
Literally, quite literally.
Oh, I'm so happy. I can't stand
Now,
it.
you've worked on the stage, obviously. You've worked in film. You've worked in television. Any preference for any one of those media?
Well, I have a particular love for theater. It's my first love, and it's what it just fires me up the way.
Is it hearing the live audience?
It's a million things. It's probably it probably is partly because I was raised backstage, and my earliest memories are of being in a theater, and the extended family of a ballet company, and the just what happens backstage. So it's more than just the process of what happens being on stage with me. It was kind of really home. My earliest homes were really in theaters. So I love it. I love the feeling of company. I love the fact that everybody gets together. Everybody gets together every night to do the show all together, to make the play. I mean, you can do a television film or a movie and not meet half the people who are in the picture until the wrap party, you know. And this isn't to say that film is not a great technique and a terrific art, because I love that too. But the theater is somehow a prior experience for me, so I have a particular feeling about it and love for it. The Julie Harris, Christopher Plummer Doll's House you're talking about actually was a Hallmark Hall of Fame. That was a TV show in what they call the Golden Age. I did a lot of those shows in Armstrong Circle Theater, DuPont, Show of the Week, all of that kind of stuff, which was another great place to train.
Have you ever gone back and looked at any of those? Have you had I assume they're over at the Museum of Television and Radio.
I have, yeah. As a matter of fact, that Doll's House was reissued a few years back, and I was just a wee boy, and I played one of the children, very, very, very small part. But there I was, just a zygote actor.
Now, you mentioned both your parents, ballet dancers. Any ballet on your resume, on your bio?
No. Well, actually, it's not on my resume. However, I have to.
Is there a reason?
He's blushing now for the radio audience.
Yes, I was never asked to return. I was never asked to extend this part of my career. But funny you should ask. When the last season of the Old Met, when the Kirov Ballet came to do their final season at the Old Met, they were doing a production of Raymonda and a production of Cinderella. And an old colleague of my mother's was running the children's corps de ballet for that. And my mom and dad said, you really should get on this stage before they tear it down, and you should have this experience of just getting on stage at the Old Met. And I had taken class from them and everything. I mean, I was not a terrific dancer nor did I have aspirations to be, but I knew just enough to get away with it. And so I was a slave boy in Raymonda and a grasshopper in Cinderella with the Kirov Ballet at the Old Metropolitan Opera House. However, they never asked me to come back for another season.
Now, I asked you before about, theater versus film versus television. Yeah. How about within theater? You've played all sorts of roles. You've played Shakespearean roles,
sure.
Richard II, Richard III. You played what you're doing now. Any preference, any particular type of role that you particularly look to play?
No, I one of the things that's so exciting, sort of it's a part of finishing up the question you asked before, is it's one of the things that is so thrilling about theater is the text. I'm a real text-oriented actor, and these great texts are really thrilling. To do a close reading of these plays, these great, dramatic works, and to attempt to understand and investigate these great characters, these creations of these great playwrights, is deeply satisfying and very challenging, and there's such a variety that's available that I'm not really. I want to do it all. I mean, there's so many different things to enjoy.
You've also had the opportunity to work with a remarkable range of directors.
Yes.
Peter Hall, Mark Lamas, Robert Wilson, Peter Sellers,
yes.
And that all seemed to come. It seemed like that all began kind of in the mid-'80s, that you really were swept up into a long series of classical work,
right.
and that really began. You'd done intermittent stage work, it seemed.